In a remote village in Kenya, nestled between sprawling fields and rugged hills, lived a young girl named Elina. Elina was the youngest of 3 children in a family that struggled daily to make ends meet. Her father, Juma, worked tirelessly as a farmer, while her mother, Amina, sold handmade baskets at the local market. Despite their hard work, the family barely earned enough to cover their basic needs. Elina had a spirit that was as vibrant as the Kenyan sunrise. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity, and her smile could brighten the darkest days. From a young age, Elina had shown a keen interest in learning. She would often sit outside the village school, listening to the lessons through the open windows, dreaming of the day she could join the other children in the classroom. However, poverty cast a long shadow over Elina's dreams. The family's meager income could not cover the cost of school fees, uniforms, and supplies. Juma and Amina had to make difficult decisions, prioritizing food and shelter over education. As much as it pained them, they knew they could not afford to send Elina to school. Every morning, Elina watched her friends and neighbors with heavy hearts as they headed off to school. She longed to be among them, to learn to read and write, to explore the wonders of books and knowledge. Instead, she helped her mother with chores, fetched water from the distant well, and cared for her younger siblings. Despite these hardships, Elina's thirst for knowledge never waned. She would often sneak into the village schoolyard during breaks, peeking through the classroom windows to catch glimpses of the lessons. One day, her curiosity caught the attention of Mrs. Wanjiku, the village schoolteacher. Mrs. Wanjiku had noticed Elina's frequent visits and saw the longing in her eyes. Intrigued by Elina's determination, Mrs. Wanjiku approached her one afternoon. "Why do you always watch from outside, Elina?" she asked gently. Elina looked down, tears welling up in her eyes. "I want to learn, but my family cannot afford to send me to school," she whispered. Mrs. Wanjiku was moved by Elina's plight. She decided to take matters into her own hands. That evening, she visited Juma and Amina's home. She spoke passionately about Elina's potential and her desire to learn, proposing a solution that would change the course of Elina's life. "I will teach Elina after school hours," Mrs. Wanjiku offered. "She doesn't need to pay anything. I believe every child deserves an education, and I am willing to help." Juma and Amina were overwhelmed with gratitude. They agreed, and from that day forward, Elina began her informal education under Mrs. Wanjiku's guidance. Each evening, after finishing her chores, Elina would run to the school, eager to learn. Mrs. Wanjiku taught her to read, write, and do arithmetic. She introduced Elina to the wonders of science, history, and geography. Elina's progress was remarkable. She absorbed knowledge like a sponge, and her confidence grew with each passing day. Word of her determination and progress spread throughout the village, inspiring others. Some villagers began to contribute in small ways, offering books and supplies to support her education. One day, a visiting journalist heard about Elina's story. Impressed by her resilience and the community's support, he wrote an article that was published in a national newspaper. Elina's story touched many hearts, and soon, donations poured in from all over the country. The funds raised were enough to cover Elina's school fees and provide financial support to other children in the village. With the newfound support, Elina was able to join her peers in the classroom officially. She excelled in her studies, and her dreams of becoming a teacher began to take shape. Her journey inspired others, showing that even in the face of poverty, determination and community support could pave the way for a brighter future. Years later, Elina stood in front of her own classroom as a teacher, sharing her love of learning with a new generation of children. She never forgot where she came from, or the people who had helped her along the way. Elina's story became a beacon of hope, illuminating the path for countless others who dared to dream despite their circumstances. In the heart of her village, Elina had become a light that guided others, proving that with determination, compassion, and community, even the most daunting obstacles could be overcome.